order on June 22nd, 6:30 p.m. Please, a couple of things I'd like to just tell everybody. Please shut off your cell phones or put them on, vibrate so it doesn't interfere with the meeting. Call the meeting to order. Roll call, please. Also, when I have public input, I will always speak for 3 minutes, and that's it. And at the end of 3 minutes, we'll shut you off, okay? That's when we have public meeting. You give your name and address when we get ready for public input. Just press the button. On pause. Roll call.
Councilor Zagorowski?
Here.
Roy? Here. Lopez? Labrie?
Here.
Kushein?
Anybody on Zoom? Mr. LaFlamme is on Zoom. Over there. No one else up there? Councilor Krampitz is on Zoom. Councilor LaFlamme. That's it for Zoom. We have in attendance our committee here. Also attending is our building messenger, building inspector, Frank Boron. City Councilor 9, Mary Beth. Our health director, Liz Sanders. Who else is here? Doug Ellis, our engineer, and George Balakir, Ward 4 Alderman. Okay. Our new attorney, I can't forget Mr. Riley, right? So that's everybody that's in attendance. Just a few things. In compliance with the open meeting laws, if anyone in audio or video recording this meeting or any part of the meeting, please raise your hands.
Chicopee registered?
Be registered, okay. So please identify yourself with name and address and whether you are audio or video recording. Anybody else? Any documents submitted to the committee during the meeting must be included in the minutes. Please leave it in the file here. Okay. All right, we have 4 items on the agenda tonight. I want to make sure I cover everything. We've got a whole set of new rules we got to follow now. Okay, the first order is on the agenda is be it ordered that the issue of dirt bikes be sent to the Public Safety Committee for a public hearing. That's the first item. That was submitted by Councilman Dobaz, Piniac Costello, and Kushein. Speak on it.
Major here. So if he could just highlight what's going on here.
Can everybody hear me? Yeah, the dirt bike calls for service that we've received this year so far, we've only received 8 actual complaints compared to last year. We had a little bit more than that. Reach out also to our neighboring communities, to Springfield, West Springfield, and Holyoke as well. And they're seeing a similar amount of call volume for that. Springfield's had a few deployments of extra officers out recently to deal with some dirt bike issues. And as far as our extra enforcement efforts, we've had numerous extra traffic details out, not specifically for the dirt bike problem, but if it does get to be a larger problem, we'll have more targeted enforcement for the areas of concern.
Anybody from the committee? Go ahead, Gary Labrie.
Yes, Chief. I have a question on what needs to be registered. I see these dirt bikes running around town. They're kind of big, and matter of fact, yesterday. One passed me. He was on my bumper, then he went around me. But it was a big dirt bike with no license plate. Do they need license plates on them?
It depends on the size of the engine.
It's a big engine.
More than likely, if it was a bigger bike, then it would need to be registered.
Small ones don't need to be registered.
If it's under a certain engine size, CC wise, then it's not required to be registered. So we see there's definitely a mix of what we see out on the street. Sometimes we even see the quads that shouldn't be on the streets out there.
Right.
And we do our best to enforce it. It's difficult at times, if we're in a street vehicle or even one of our SUVs, the quads can leave the road and take off down a dirt
Yeah.
pathway into the woods very easily.
But if they go through a traffic signal, like a dirt bike or a small bike, will an officer, try to give them a ticket? Or I know they're gonna take off and we're not gonna chase them.
If they're able to, they will cite them for that. If it's an off-road type vehicle, an ATV, a quad or something like that, then we wouldn't charge them under the normal Chapter 90. We would charge them with a Chapter 90B violation. Recreational vehicle.
Because even the electric bikes, we see all kinds of, I'm sure you see a lot more than I do, but, electric bikes, scooters, they're all motorized, they're all mixing in with traffic, and it seems that they don't follow the traffic rules. They just go through the red lights or.
Everything's supposed to follow the rules,
Right.
including the bicycles. They're following the same rules as.
Somebody sees them, they will try to take it to them. I know it's hard to get to them, so. Good to know that. The bigger bikes, need a plate, and the smaller ones, people do ask me that. What do you need?
Actually, I'll get you the specific rules for the registration.
See how many horsepower, yeah.
You could send a copy of that to each of the, got questions on it, I know other councilors. Anybody else? Terry?
We look at any type of vehicle that flees. So there's a lot of parameters. Obviously, the amount of traffic out there, safety conditions, the reason why we be going after them. What we don't want to do is put anybody's life in jeopardy, including the operator of the vehicle. We're extremely cautious about when we would actually pursue. That's our policy. We have standards within our policy that state what we should be looking for and when to break those off. And it's the street supervisor who's working at the time has to monitor those and decide if we should break off that pursuit. Some of the cameras that we already use in the city now are pretty long range. Are you talking more vehicle mounted? No, we can discern some license plates with some of the technology we currently have. If it was observed, yes.
Anybody else? Mary Beth, you all set? George, go ahead. Councilor Valier.
Yeah, thank you. Excuse me, Chief, do we still have a confiscation policy for unregistered, like dirt bikes and ATVs?
If the vehicle is registered, it would be towed.
Okay,
And they'd be, depending on what the reason for, you're gonna cite them or not. They may have the opportunity to properly register the vehicle,
okay.
but, in some instances, it will end up going to auction.
All right, thank you.
Anybody else from the, public input? Anybody from the public want to speak on this? Verify it. No public input. We'll close all public input for now.
Mr. Chairman, the
Yes,
people on
yes.
Zoom?
There's nobody on Zoom.
No public.
Anybody on Zoom want to speak others? I'm sorry.
Yes, here.
You
Just,
identify yourself?
yes, Sue Nimchik, James Street, Chicopee.
Okay. Go ahead, Ms. Numchuck.
Okay, is it just simply on the topic of dirt bikes that we speak now, or do we wait until the end for another topic?
Well, this order calls for the dirt bikes to go to public safety. That's what we had a councilwoman, Costello filed an order on dirt bikes, and that's what we're talking about right now.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else on Zoom? Seeing none, we'll close public input also. Roll call, please. Oh, yeah, we'll make a motion. Motion and second to place on file. Call the roll.
Are we closing the public
Closing public input also.
Counselor Zagorowski?
Yes.
Roy?
Mr. Chairman, we need a motion to close public input, and then we need a
I'll
motion
make a motion to close public input.
Motion made and second to close public input.
Counselor Zagorowski?
Yes.
Roy? Lopez? Labrie?
Yes.
Kushein?
Motion made and second to place on file. Call the roll.
Counselor Zagorowski?
Yes.
Roy? Lopez? Labrie?
Yes.
Kushein?
Oh, she's not a. Oh. Motion passes 3-0. Next item on the agenda is, we should have a vote on that though, right? That's the order.
Voted on
No,
the
you already
order.
We're all set on that? Okay, I want to make sure, I want to cover everything. All right, the next order that's up for, the B order that Dairy Queen of 1535 Memorial Drive appear before the Public Safety Committee for a public hearing to discuss traffic conditions, snow removal on sidewalks, and sanitary conditions. On the motion. It was filed by Dobaz, Piniac, Costello, and Kushein. Mary Beth.
Thank you. So basically, there are several neighbors here today in regards to the conditions on Ketty Boulevard that have been created by Dairy Queen in regards to the sanitation conditions, traffic conditions, and snow removal was a problem. So I invited people here to discuss the situation with Dairy Queen and have I would like to do is Dairy Queen also to have public input. And I want to thank Steve May and Moran, who are here today as well, and they have knowledge of Ketty Boulevard, the traffic conditions to be done, and what's being done. All aware of the situation. So basically, is improve what's going on with Dairy Queen. One neighbor indicated to me that Dairy Queen is Ward 9's version of Walmart. Cash station that comes up. We can correct this and make the quality of life better.
Going to open up to public because I think we need to hear from the public on this Dairy Queen issue right now. Motion, do we have to make a motion and go public? No, okay, all right. Anybody for public hearing on Dairy Queen, please? Just come up, give your name and address, please. Get 3 minutes only, keep track of the time.
I'll try to make it quick.
Okay.
I'm Deborah Panagotopoulos. I'm at 30 Ketty Boulevard. My backyard is the KFC backyard, and I'm 2 houses on the same side as Dairy Queen. I've lived there for 40 years, and it's been a nuisance for many years. I did bring a display of pictures.
Yeah, just so we can hear you better.
There we go.
Move this in.
Okay, up at the top, I've kind of labeled this. So this is the abuse of the drive-through line. This is our houses. This is my house. We had to park there so people wouldn't turn around in our driveways. And this is a succession of up to his house, which is way up here. And then here you can see the actual person is in front of this neighbor's driveway, and they're very rude. But anyway, so that's what we have to deal with. If they don't park on our street, they go on to Memorial Drive, and the line forms on Memorial Drive, which is a hazard. This is stormwater that comes down from into Dairy Queen's sewer in front. And a lot of times they don't bother to take care of it. This is what we get when we have heavy storms. And that is a real safety hazard right there. We have had cars get stuck there. This is the trash in my backyard just this week. This, I was mowing, and a Price Right bag was wrapped around my lawnmower. So those are the problems, some of the problems. And I understand now, I went to the planning board meeting, and they're gonna put maybe a Dunkin' Donut in the mix. And now we have more traffic, which will filter onto Memorial Drive as a drive-through, like Dairy Queen. And this is James Street the other day when I was pulling out. At 3 o'clock, you have schools emptying, manufacturing empty, and condos down there. So at 3 o'clock, this line was way down to the base, and they want to put this drive-through on James Street at the Castle of the Knights. So I guess basically that's it. I hope it's 3 minutes. So I think pictures say a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else for public input? State your name and address, please.
My name's William Turgeon. I live on 2 Springfield Street. But I've lived at Ketty Boulevard for most of my life when I was growing up. And I agree with what she just stated. My only concern is when they put the fence back there, the traffic has to go all the way back around, and it makes it an inconvenience for people to even get out of the streets. And something needs to be done about the fence itself. And I don't know why that KSC does not be able to kind of work with Dairy Queen as to be able to kind of solve this issue, because like Debbie said, it's a hazard, and something needs to be done about this, and because and especially with the deliveries they have every week, and something needs to be addressed, something needs to be done about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Turk. Anybody else for public input on Dairy Queen?
Yes, please. Hello,
Wait a minute, I gotta take care of the audience first.
sorry.
My name is Don Archambault. I'm at 39 Ketty Boulevard. I, like Debbie's, been there a long time, my whole entire life, 61 years. I was there when there was houses. Now there's Dairy Queen. Our street is turned into a parking lot. We got wide roads to park to go and have lunch. We've got 2 trailers, one for delivery, one to park in front of my house and leave the truck running while he's having lunch in the other truck. Okay? We have USA, who doesn't cover their covers, and there's a part in Mass state law says motor vehicles by the noise or nuisance incident to such travel shall be minimized or abated. Department shall consider such alterations or changes in travel routes. They pick up at Dairy Queen, they don't cover the cover, the trash falls out on our street, and they race down the street. In the early 70s, when Memorial Drive was made on the south side, it was made a 2-lane road, and now we got all the traffic that comes down that way. So USA, the address is Ketty Boulevard. It's 15 Memorial Drive, 15 something. Instead, they race down our street. So it's been posted and by 15 miles an hour. That's been since I was a child. When I walked to junior high at Fairview Memorial, 1974 is a 4-lane road, and that street's 15. I think 15 is a suggestion. The trucks, the trailers, they're all using our street as a parking lot to frequent Dairy Queen. So I have pictures here if you want to look at them. And I also have snow removal. I've got more pictures of Debbie where the drain has not been cleared. So back when it started in 1994, it was stated they'd take a right turn out of Ketty Boulevard when the person bought it. When we've asked about it, they said that that information is no longer around. I don't know why it's not in public record, but it was public record in 94 that they would take a right turn out of Ketty Boulevard. Even though you can go left, it was taken that they could go on a right turn. Well, the sign's disappeared. The sign on the first entrance hasn't had any light on it or anything, and this is what we're dealing with. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public input on Dairy Queen?
Yes.
Go right ahead. Name and address, please.
My name is Carissa Cosmini. My address is in Wilbraham, Massachusetts. My family is the former owner of Dairy Queen on 1535 Memorial Drive. We opened that business in 1994, and this is a disappointment to hear all of this because that is not how we wanted this business to go when we sold it. We did sell it to one set of owners. Since then, it has turned over again to another set of owners, and I just wanted to apologize to the neighborhood. I worked with your children, and we took pride in what we did and how we took care of the neighborhood and whatnot. And I just wanted to share that with everyone in the room. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody else for public input on Dairy Queen?
Yes, please.
Anybody on Zoom for Dairy Queen?
Yes, please.
Go ahead, Ms. Numchuck.
Okay, thank you. I guess my question is for the chief. Okay, sorry I'm not there in person to meet you for the first time. And I'm just wondering, you know, we often hear about, you know, sites being developed, and I'm glad the original owner was there because I can tell with her voice and everything that she never intended this to be the situation. And often when businesses develop and they're handed off to a next buyer and next buyer and next buyer, things escalate and become worse and worse. So Chief, you know, as you know, head of safety in this whole community and the police and everything, how do you consider when something's going to be developed or expanded, like, you know, something else at KFC and the situation with, you know, the ice cream and everything? When is intensity to such a point where, you know, it spills over any idea of safety? As same with congestion. Where are the limits? And would you give voice, please, to what are the parameters so that people are protected? Because I too live on James Street, but in the opposite direction. I go on Memorial Drive, and I see what the people there are talking about constantly throughout the summers and everything. And this is occurring in different sites throughout the city. So if the chief at some point can, you know, contribute and input to this, I think it'll be perhaps an eye opener for everyone as to, you know, who's going to be protecting us, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Numchuck. Anybody else on Zoom? Go right ahead. Go ahead, public input.
Thank you.
Name
Dan
and
Dorzinski.
Name and address, please.
Yep, Dan Dorzinski, 58 Ketty Boulevard. I'm approximately halfway down on the street. Some of the concerns that I have seen, obviously the traffic is the most important to me. Coming home from work, 3 o'clock, 3:30, at times I'm unable to turn on to Ketty Boulevard, coming up Memorial Drive from the Walmart area. I at times have to stay in the right lane on Memorial Drive before I could even enter onto my street, as cars are waiting to go into waiting to go into Dairy Queen. There's 2 lines. And additionally, 6 o'clock, 6:30 at night, it's an extremely difficult time on hot weather days during the summer as far as the traffic is concerned. I know some of my neighbors have mentioned the concern of so many cars taking up the street, Ketty Boulevard, all the way, at times, all the way down, halfway down the street to 58 Ketty Boulevard. That is a major concern, the traffic, especially when the cars are parked on the, or I should say, standing on the left side of the road as well as the right side. So it's an inconvenience to try to even go out that way to Memorial Drive. Another concern that I want to bring up is from a safety standpoint, the amount of trash and the concern of when that trash is disposed of. I don't know if my neighbors have seen it as well, but an abundance of opossums, raccoons. Obviously, we've had more and more bear sightings. And I know that the Knights of Columbus empties their bins daily because we hear that right out of our backyard. But I'm not sure as far as the safety with the trash removal. So that's a question that I would have for that business. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else for public input? We'll get to the mic, please.
And are usually doing it around 3:30 in the morning. 2:30. Sometimes it's 5:30. The Knights of Columbus, sometimes the sweeper goes around that time. And we've had a real issue with that for many years. And then with the Dunkin' Donut proposal that we came, they said they're going to have tractor trailer once a week, a box truck once a day, and again, we got trucks. So I just wanted to add that emptying the dumpsters is not within reason. Dunkin' Donut, they proposed 5 to 11, and their trucks will deliver not on hours. So that means between 11 and 5, we're going to hear their trucks. Thank you.
Anybody else on Zoom at this time? In the audience?
Don Archambault, 39 Ketty Boulevard. The dumpsters were dumped at 4 o'clock, 4:30 in the morning. It just happened this past week that with the city ordinance that Ron Belair put in 2009, that they came after 7 a.m. Before then, 3:30, 4, 4:30, 5 a.m. doing the dumpsters. It's only been this week, Wednesday, Thursday, yesterday, and today, that it's after 7 a.m. So it's before then. They never followed the ordinance that when you were on the board, Mr. Zagorowski, they put that in effect with Mr. Tillotson, Ron Belair, that dumpsters within 100 residential feet was 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., none. They have never honored that rule, and neither is the plaza.
I'll have to double check, sir, but they are covered.
Before,
Wait a minute.
oh, I know.
Take this up in our committee in a little while, okay? All right, I want to
Dennis O'Connor, 289 Fuller Road, but I'm fiance of Deb Abel. I'm 30 Ketty Boulevard. So during COVID, when people were trying to get out and get ice cream and so on and so forth, traffic was backed up again on Memorial Drive and Ketty Boulevard. We sat on the front lawn, and if I didn't see 40, 50 altercations of actually people getting out of their cars and going to fistfights because people were coming in from Memorial Drive and people were on Ketty Boulevard. They thought they had the right of way to get into Dunkin' Donuts. So it was a major, Dairy Queen, I'm sorry. So that's a major, major problem. And it still goes on to this day. I know you can ask any neighbor around here, if they're sitting out on their yard, they know there's been many altercations of people trying to get out of their cars. So, I mean, nobody's got killed yet, and I hope nobody ever does. But that's a major problem, just so you know that. Thank you.
Well, good chair, if I ask a question. Not the current owner of Dairy Queen, right? That's done. Is anybody from Dairy Queen here? Okay, we're gonna get to that in a moment. Right now, we're taking public input right now. I'd like to make a motion to, close public.
She's gonna be public.
But we'll let you talk. Senior, the owner. You're the owner of public? Oh, you're the manager. Okay, we'll let you talk.
So hi, my name is Janelle. I'm from South Hadley, 3 Ralph Ave. So I've been a manager there for a couple of years. I do understand the traffic conditions. I've seen it happen. So like when I try to go at night to get myself some ice cream, I have to sit there too, and it's a pain. I will try to work on the snow removal. We've had a snowplow guy who comes really late in the day sometimes, so I'll try to beat him to it so that they don't have to deal with the whole sidewalk situation. And the trash people, we've tried to call them about coming so early because we had somebody come up to us and complain, but I'll try to give them another call, see if it helps. And I'll try to have them come maybe 2 times a week instead of 1, so that it's not so much trash going in people's yards, hopefully. And then anything else we can work on, I could do it for you.
Know who the actual owner is of Dairy Queen?
Yeah.
If you do that to our secretary,
Yeah, sure.
on record, I don't think we do have it. So now we'll have who the actual owner is. Anybody else for public input? Motion to close public input?
Motion to close, I'll make the motion, Bob.
Take a vote on public input, closing.
Councilors Zagorowski,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Lopez, Labrie,
Yes.
Kushein.
I'd like to have a discussion with our committee.
Go ahead, Jim. Okay, I don't frequent it, it's not in my area, but I have gone by there, and I have seen the traffic, and, I can imagine that some people, they see that traffic, and they're gonna try to go around to Kitty Boulevard on the other side and come in, because they don't have to wait on Memorial Drive, so that's an issue. I don't know how you rectify it, we'll have to, put that in committee and talk to our engineers and, police department and, I don't know what you do, make it a one-way or, public input again on that, but, let our engineer take a look at it. He's been taking a lot of notes, talking and, but I can imagine how difficult it is if you live there, Or I don't see it, but,
Yes, please. There's no two ways about it. There's definitely a problem there with traffic, with trash. The big item is how do we rectify it? How do we relieve it? That's not a simple answer. Somewhere down the line, like Councilor LaBrie said, we could get the engineers involved, but I think what's gonna have to happen, personally, I think you're gonna have to get the Knights of Columbus involved. They're gonna have to give up a little of their property. Kind of a round thing, unless you plan on telling Dairy Queen to go out of business somehow. Is there an easy or simple solution? No, but I don't think it's unattainable. I think it's something that can be addressed, and,
Gallus, have any comments on this? No, but I'd like to hear from you.
Yeah, some of the issues I'm hearing for the first time tonight, like the drainage. Councilor Piniac Costello has talked to me about trying to do a study there to see what the truck volume is, to see if we can get, trucks excluded from that road. We've been unable to do those, counts yet because we have the construction going on for the water main on James Street. So anything we did wouldn't reflect the actual conditions. So as soon as that, construction project is done, we're gonna get some, traffic counts on there.
Health Director, Lisa Sanders, do you have any comments about the dumpsters?
I do. Actually, I think the trash issue, that's, they probably need to have their employees pick up more often. I don't know what the, trash, but they need to work on that. As far as USA is concerned, they are known for picking up really early. We've sent them notices. So if you're having that problem, young lady, them picking up too early, let us know. We can send them a letter. So yeah, they have done that in the past. They pick up at like 3, 4 o'clock in the morning at other sites. So we can deal with that. But the trash issue, I don't know, like, do you have your employees go out and? So you might want them to do it morning, afternoon, and also at night.
City building inspector, any comments?
No comment. The only comments I got is I agree with Lisa about the dumpsters, because what I've noticed, and I get the phone calls too, is using the company that picks up the trash over at Dairy Queen. They also have other businesses in the surrounding area, so they do a roundabout. So I've got complaints from other businesses in that area, a restaurant, a grocery store, that dumpsters are being emptied really late at night. And I think what the company does, they try to do it a big sweep in that area so they're not going back and forth. But I know it's a problem. It's been a problem for other businesses in that area. And I agree that it can be a nuisance, especially because when you empty them dumpsters, it's pretty loud. It's pretty loud. But I'm willing to work with them and with Lisa Sanders from the health department to make sure the dumpsters are not emptied at a reasonable time.
Yeah, just if anyone knows through the chair to our attorney or anyone who has the answer or the chief, do we have a time that dumpsters can pick up? Is it in our ordinances or in our charter?
I don't know, Counselor, but maybe Lisa might know. You're the health director. I bet she knows.
We do. It's after 7. We have an ordinance. I've actually written tickets to, so we do have an ordinance.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mary Beth.
Thank you. I've been to Dairy Queen with engineer Ellis, and we've walked it. And there is a problem with traffic. It's narrow. There's parking on it. There is speeding that is done there. For some people, it might be even a cut through from Memorial Drive to James Street. So I appreciate Mr. Ellis spending as much time in Ward 9 as he does. He's very dedicated to make sure the ward is safe. And I believe even one of the constituents saw us walking the street. So there is a traffic issue. And if you drive by in the summer, you try to get into Ketty Boulevard, you can't because the cars are backed up. And having that drive-through the way it is a real problem. That drive-through has created even more problems. And many of the neighbors have contacted me. One contacted me right from the beginning when I started. So I'm very happy everybody's here to discuss this, because it's something that has to be publicly discussed. And Dairy Queen must be held accountable for the trash. Now, there is a woman in Ward 9 that collects trash. I went out with her, and you should see the trash that Dairy Queen has. And they shouldn't have that. The trash should be picked up, and they should be responsible for cleanup. So there's a lot of issues here on Ketty Boulevard. There's a lot of issues with Dairy Queen. So I'm very happy we're going to sit down and try to solve this. To Engineer Ellis, you're going to do that traffic study. One constituent asked me, because in the city, some streets have no trucks, and then other streets have commercial vehicle exclusion. So what would you recommend here, a no truck sign or commercial vehicle exclusion?
Well, anytime we do a truck exclusion, it's something we go through the counts. It's a heavy commercial vehicle exclusion, and that runs through the state, and the Mass DOT approves it or denies it.
Can we put a no truck sign here? Would that be appropriate?
I don't know that you can enforce anything off of that, though.
Okay, so it's not enforceable?
Yeah.
No, the public input is done.
Okay, I just want to clarify that, because the truck issue has been brought to my attention. People are saying, well, can we put a no truck sign on Ketty Boulevard because of the fact it's heavily traveled. There are a lot of residents there, and it's not safe.
May, through it. It seems to me that the whole problem with traffic there is that Dairy Queen management needs to work with the KFC to get an outer to go out through their gate. By one time, tried Dairy Queen, that was a couple of owners back. KFC didn't want to do it, but you notice there's businesses in there now.
Somebody saying yes or no?
Might be
Say
for
anything?
liability why they won't let.
Starting to get businesses in there now. Just a couple of questions. The truck deal there, that seems to be a major problem there. Can't put, I just want to clarify for the public. Tell me again exactly what you state of no trucks going in there.
Well, if you put a no truck sign, it's not enforceable if there's not, you know, a study done and, you know, an approval from the Mass DOT to have an exclusion of trucks. And they refer to it as a heavy commercial vehicle exclusion.
So there's a problem with trucks making deliveries at that place, so management of Dairy Queen almost has to work with the KFC to see if they can work something out that they can make their deliveries through the, or whatever, but that's gonna sum you as you'll have to work with, Dairy Queen on this and find out who the KFC also, you know. Any other questions from the committee?
I just want to make sure that people understand that if they put a no truck sign, it's not enforceable. So
Good to
that,
have it there.
but you know, I think the problem with the no truck sign is some streets have it and some streets don't. So if you're driving around and you say, hey, there's a no truck sign on so-and-so street, how come we can't have it? So once you put that sign up there, then that opens up a Pandora's box, so then everybody wants one, even though it's not enforceable. And that's what one of the constituents asked me, can we put a no truck sign there?
Mm-hmm.
So the answer really is no, because it's not enforceable. What I want to do through the city engineering is to do a traffic study for a commercial vehicle exclusion. And that sign is up on Britton Street from Mount Com down, from Mount Com down to New Ludlow Road. So we do have those signs, but that's through a study, and that's enforceable. But like I said, Doug's been out there with me, and he's been out there actually a couple of times, so he's well aware of the situation. But I do have a question for Doug. What about that drainage problem that the pictures show today?
And tonight's the first I've heard of that, so it's something I would have to investigate.
Okay, right.
We'll continue to monitor it and do our best if we see violations that take. And the same thing as far as the USA trucks. If they're becoming a pattern again, then please call down to the dispatch and we can activate them as well for ordinance violation.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to place on file.
Counselor Zagorowski,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Lopez, Labrie,
Yes.
Boucher.
Three in favor, motion passes. So next item on the agenda is need order that the Public Safety Committee meet to discuss enforcement of ordinances in the city of Chicopee. Held by Ms. Piniac Costello. You have the floor.
Thank you. I'm very happy to see the health director and the building department here. And basically, there's been discussions on enforcement of ordinances. And so I just would like both of you explain, and it's good for the public, because I have one constituent in the audience that has questioned, rightfully so, how ordinances are enforced and how our problems with violation of those ordinances resolved. So thank you. I just would like to hear from them. Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else on the Roundtable want to take a shot at how ordinances are filed or enforced?
Sure.
Go ahead, Ms.
So the
Sanders.
way it works for the health department, we get a complaint, an inspector will go out and follow up on the complaint. If it's indeed a violation, we send out a notice. So we give the owner X amount of days to correct. If they do not correct, we may send a second notice, or we may call them in for an in-house hearing. If they do not show up for the in-house hearing, we then send it to our law department. Some people are what we call repeat offenders, so I will send out a notice, but then after that, I will start giving them a ticket. We're able to ticket every day thereafter. But that would mean that we would have to actually go to that location every single day and write a ticket. But some places I happen to drive by and I will do it. Most people comply. Those that don't comply are usually the ones that we are going to have a problem with. They dig their heels in and they just refuse to do what we want them to do. So that's when it goes to the law department for a hearing before a judge. That's pretty much how it works. We send out a notice, we give people enough time, most people do it. Those that don't, call them in for a hearing to figure out why they didn't do it, and usually we can resolve it that way. Pretty much how we do it.
Yeah, so that's,
Building inspector.
yep, this is Frank from the building department. Just like Mrs. Sanders says, we follow proper protocol. So we follow the same kind of rules that the health department follows with, we send out notices, then we send out a second notice, and then we call them in for a hearing and try to get it resolved. If not, we send out a violation letter. And then if nothing's accomplished there, we send it over to our law department to try to get better enforcement and get people into compliance that way.
Anybody else about the ordinances?
With us, we enforce it also, the officers, if they notice a violation. Sometimes they might try to correct it and have the person remedy it before they issue a citation. If they issue a city ordinance violation, they fill out a complete report along with that violation. And
Anybody on Zoom on this order?
Yes, please. Can you hear me?
Go ahead, we can hear him.
Yes.
Name and address, please.
Thank you. Sue Nimchick, James Street, Chicopee, 01020.
Mr. Chairman,
Yeah.
you closed public input, right? So were you just asking for city councilors?
I'm sorry, that's right.
Oh, okay.
This is a new order.
New order. You didn't close the public input on this?
No, we didn't.
Not in this order.
My mistake. My mistake.
May I
Go
continue?
ahead, Ms. Nemchak.
Okay, thank you. You know, when the individuals say, you know, there's repeat offenders and they send out a notice and then, you know, they continue to violate or whatever, and there's a fee. What are the fees? Are they escalating? And should there be an escalated type of pricing to it? So that one, it's, I mean, do people just, I mean, human beings' behavior these days are getting worse and worse, and they really don't care about anything. So if there's repeat offenders, what is the price of the fee? How can one enforce it? What do you do, please?
So the fees vary. So some are, like for high grass, that's just $50, but you can get fined $50 every day. For the real offenders, the people that have like overgrowth, trash in their yard, unregistered vehicles, those we submit to law. I think it takes maybe over a year before a fee, like the ticket even has to be paid. So they don't really pay attention to that. You're right, people, the behavior is not that great. And people, like I said, they dig their heels in and they won't respond until they get something from the law department. And then they call us and then they say, well, you know, can I have more time or what have you?
Okay, now you're
There are
just,
some people that are just, we can't make people do what they are unwilling to do. That's just the bottom line.
okay, so you're talking about individuals. How about these businesses that are violators, intentional or otherwise?
So the businesses are a little different because we can find them, we can find them, but we can also, they usually hold a license through the city, so we can revoke their license. So we can kind of do better with the businesses. We have a little more leverage.
Okay, and does that happen often?
Which part of it? Revoking a license or not issuing a license? Writing tickets?
You say, you know, issuing tickets,
I've done all of the above.
all of the above, okay,
Yes. It doesn't happen often, no, but I've done it, yes.
okay. Do they have to reach a limit where you just say, you know, this is enough? It's the same question I think I asked the chief, you know, when is enough enough? When are limits? What are the parameters? So that we are avoiding, you know, wasting, you know, committees' time and everything. And we're always sweeping up in waiting in response to everything, whereas congestion increases or violations keep going up and people are getting stressed. And afterwards, it just builds up and explodes.
You are right. There is a point where with some places I'm just like, enough is enough. I've sent out a notice. I've sent out tickets. I'm going to send this to the law department with a special note that says, make this a priority. So you're right. We get pushed to the limits. We have a certain amount of staff members and we don't want to dedicate days to one business. It's not fair. It's not fair to the public.
Thank you.
All said, Mr. Nemchek?
Yes, thank you.
Your 3 minutes are up. I'd like to add something to that. Your local alderman in each ward of the city can call in the licensee also. And I've seen that done many a times. We bring them in, the possibility that their license be revoked or discharged or whatever the case may be. So if you have a certain problem in a certain area, you can certainly speak to your councilman in each ward and they'll review it and they can file an order to have the licensee brought into the license committee.
Thank you.
That can be done. Okay, thank you. Anybody else for public on this order? Go ahead. Address again?
My name is Don Archambault, 39 Ketty Boulevard. Like I said, I grew up on Ketty Boulevard my whole life. I bicycled through Fairview. Now that I'm a driver, we have intersections in Ward 9. I'm sure there's other ones too. But you need to pass the stop sign to see oncoming street. There's an ordinance in the city as far as queerage to the concept. And I told when I had Sergeant Fopp show up at my house about the truck, and I told him about that particular intersection. There's a few of them, but you have to stop at the stop sign, and then you literally have to put your nose into the cross street. And those shrubs are very high, so they've had to be there since I was a kid. Nobody seems to be doing anything about those intersections that are a safety to walkers coming, kids from school. Okay, there's College in McCarthy, there's Julia in New Ludlow, there's Mount Calm in New Ludlow. They have shrubs that are so high that anybody walking, or if somebody decides to run that red light, they're going to get creamed by somebody who's going through the green. So you talk about enforcing it. Those shrubs have been there good 10, 15, 20 feet, and the same thing. People have to stop at the stop sign, pull their nose into the street before they can see the turnout. So I don't know if you drive it. Sergeant Fopp, after mentioned, he knew about Julia, but New Ludlow and Mount Calm, and now the house on Whittlesey Avenue and James Street, they put shrubs up now. So I'm sure anybody coming out of Whittlesey Avenue, 4th Avenue, 6th Avenue, 5th Avenue in there, they have an issue looking out from anybody coming down James Street going down the hill. So what's happening with these private homes that aren't following the ordinances? I mean, those shrubs, you can't say they just got put in. They're good 10, 15, 20 feet. So there's kids that walk from the base up College Street. They come down from McCarthy. They can't see at that corner unless they're through the intersection. So do we stop in the middle of the intersection for the stop sign, or do we stop once and then pray we call out a little bit more and we don't have to? But somebody's got to do with some of these houses on these corners. Or somebody's going to get hit. And Mount Calm, somebody runs those red lights, and Britain Street runs those red lights, somebody's going to pay. Thank you.
Is it just shrubs, or is it fencing also with shrubs?
There is like a 4-foot fence, but they have like 10-foot shrubs with them. And on same thing at New Ludlow and Mount Calm, there's like a 3-foot fence, but then there's the shrubs that probably block the view from Mount Calm Heights. Julia has like a 6-foot fence on the corner of Julia and New Ludlow. So I mean, I'm just mentioning streets that I travel, and I can't believe that somebody in the city, and even our representatives don't travel, that don't see that. They weren't just put in. They didn't carry in 20-foot shrubs on a truck. So this has been going on since I was a kid on a bicycle. So when are they going to do something?
Time's up now.
Thanks, Bobby.
Isn't, Sanders, isn't it come under the health department, hide brushes and hide fences, or is that the building? Right, you took it in now, all this problems, right?
But if, Mary Beth, if you give me a list of what the problems are in your ward,
Yep.
I'd be happy to follow through.
If-
I'd be happy to follow through with,
if
with
I
the
may,
corner clearance.
I did report,
Yeah,
if I can just finish.
or, oh,
We
wait a
did
minute, are you
report-
done?
Are you done? Are you done?
Yeah, of course, yes, yes.
Okay. Go ahead.
I did report these streets, and I indicated that to the constituent. And they are serious. And I'll tell you who fixed, they're just waiting for the sign. We have to take a look at those shrubs on the corner of McCarthy and College. Kids cross there. And I stood on that corner for an hour with Doug Ellis, and he fixed the no parking issue. So there's no parking now on both sides of that section with McCarthy Avenue. The problem is that the sign hasn't gone up yet. And I asked somebody, when can we get that sign up? Because the ordinance passed, no parking on McCarthy Avenue toward the College Street intersection, and I'm just waiting for the sign, and I'm gonna send out notices in that area to let them know that on that section of McCarthy, there's no parking. But in all fairness, no parking or not, no parking, I mean, it has to be because it's a narrow area. But the constituent is right. When you go down that street, McCarthy Avenue, you gotta peek out beyond the shrubs. So we gotta figure out, what are we gonna do with the shrubs,
Yeah.
you know? And that's been an ongoing situation for a very long time.
Problem with shrubs should be given to the building inspector, as he
I
said.
did,
So he's got it, so
he's aware of it.
any of you people have problems with shrubs abutting roads and anything else, call the building department. At least if he gets a call, he's got it on record, on the address, and that he can get it taken care of.
And then, and also on the corner of, New Ludlow Road and Malcolm. That corner has a little fence, but large shrubs, and I did report that, as well as the one on New Ludlow Road. So I'm happy we're having this meeting because the shrubs are a problem. In all fairness, engineering did more than their job to make sure that that corner was addressed safely, and the no parking signs will be on both sides of the street. But those shrubs, with no parking or not, they're still there. And we gotta get those addressed.
There's the guy that takes care of it.
Okay.
Correct, and I will address them
Thank you
issues.
very much.
I can mention, speaking about McCarthy and College Street, I do believe we cited that property owner before. And I just, they know that the shrubs need to be cut. I just think they don't maintain them. So I'll be happy to send a new letter out. And I do believe I know the intersection at Mount Com and New Ludlow Road. I believe they're arborvitae bushes.
Yeah, they
They're pretty big.
They're big, yeah.
Yep.
And-
So I
and-
definitely
and
will address it.
And the
And any other
constituent-
concerns or any other intersection, I'll be happy to address.
And I gave them all three a while ago to the constituent, but I'm gonna have to put in another one because you're the second person today that made a concern about James Street and Whitley, I don't know how to pronounce it, but, I'm gonna have to do a referral tomorrow. The person that has told me that. So,
All set, Mary Beth?
I'm all set, yeah.
Motion to close public input.
Motion to close public input.
Counselor Zagorowski?
Yes.
Roy?
Yes.
Lopez? Labrie?
Yes.
Kushein?
This one here, I make a motion again.
Motion to place on file.
Motion to place on file.
Second.
Counselor Zagorowski?
Yes.
Roy?
Yes.
Lopez? Labrie?
Yes.
Kushein?
Last item on here is, be ordered that the Public Safety Committee meet to discuss safety issues in the Litwin School neighborhood. I spoke to Councilman Dobez. He's at Litwin School right now. They're having a neighborhood meeting. So I'm gonna make, right now, best we can do with this is, place it on the call of the chair.
Motion to place on the call of the chair.
Motion, second, and place the call of the chair.
Zagorowski,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Lopez, Labrie,
Yes.
Kushein.
Passes 3. It's,
Motion to accept the minutes of March 23rd, 2023.
Second.
roll call for the minutes.
Counselor Zagorowski,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Lopez, Labrie,
Yes.
Kushein.
And adjourn.
Second.
Roll call
Counsel-
to adjourn.
Counselor Zagorowski,
Yes.
Roy,
Yes.
Lopez, Labrie,
Yes.
Kushein.
Right.